What's up, Cloud Gamers? Welcome to the Cloud Gaming Extreme channel, your destination for all things cloud gaming. The Stadia Pro games for the month of June are now available, so we're going to take a quick look at them all, and we'll begin with Chronos Before the Ashes. This is a prequel to Remnant from the Ashes, and if you have played that game you will recognise certain locations and characters in this one. Unlike Remnant, however, this game is solely focused on powers and melee combat, adding to that the RPG and puzzle solving elements. At this point in time I'm going to use RPG elements loosely, as the hour or so that I played this morning didn't seem to bring any significant RPG elements. It all felt very linear. It didn't feel like any of the decisions I made will make much of a difference to the story. This could all change, of course, the further you progress in the game, but I found it very difficult. The gameplay is very slow, it's very methodical. I'm trying not to use the term boring, but that is what I found myself playing this morning, very bored. And it's a shame really, because the art style of the game is very beautiful. I really like the design. I also like that you have to find certain items and merge them together to create bigger items that will help you on your quest. You can also pick up a certain number of items that will help you upgrade your weapon. And after being captured by a talking tree and giving a harsh talking to, I found myself with a firepower, which I can use by defeating enemies to build it up. You also have attribute points to build upon when you level up your character, also by defeating enemies. And the most unique factor in this game is when you die you age by a year, and this affects your attributes going forward. The older you become, the slower you become when it comes to your combat, and you will rely on your powers. So overall, it's a decent game, it's a really good looking game, but for me it's just too slow, it's very linear, and that just doesn't suit the way I like to play games, unfortunately, but it will suit someone. So if you pick this up, I really hope you enjoy it. Next up we have Moto GP 20, and this is where my gaming day really went downhill this morning. Some of you may completely disagree with my take on this one, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. First of all, the first thing that I am seriously not happy with about this game is there is absolutely zero help in the beginning. You're just thrown in, basically told to get on with it. There is zero help, no explanation as to what you're doing. So if you have not the slightest iota about MotoGP or the way a Grand Prix weekend works, you're just lost straight away from the beginning. I completely understand that these types of games are made and designed for a certain audience, and that is completely fine, but you can't just cut off the rest of the gaming world who may take an interest in this, but when they come in and they see that there is absolutely zero tutorials, zero help given, they're just going to throw it away. Just exactly like what I did when I bought this game when it first came to Stadia. That's the exact reason I refunded it. The gameplay itself is extremely challenging, and that's fine. I don't mind a challenge, and neither does most gamers, but the fact that we don't get any help along the way, you just have to figure it out for yourself, just doubles the difficulty level. And it's a shame really, because the game looks really good. There's a lot to do, there's a lot of customization options, there's loads of Grand Prix options. You can start from Moto 3 and work your way through Moto 2 up into the Moto GP Championship. You have loads of research and development options, engineering options, loads of race day options in terms of your tyres, the bike setups, your practicing, your qualifying, your engineering. It's all there, but there's no help in the beginning, so you just have to figure all this out for yourself. So unless you have X amount of time to put into this game, then it's probably not going to be for you, unfortunately. It's not one you can just dip in and out of. You've got to put a lot of time and effort into this one. Let's get back onto a positive note now with the Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3. This game has everything you would come to expect from a JRPG turn-based battler. One thing to note, however, is if you haven't played the previous installments, you may struggle in the beginning, but there is an option to relive the story so far before you start a new game, which is very good. I really like that. Coming into the gameplay then, and it's everything you would expect from a turn-based battle game. From a plethora of attacking and defensive options with your crew, to the over-the-top animated combat cutscenes in between. New battle elements were installed into this edition, which adds a new use for your brave points. The new feature Brave Order allows characters to execute party-wide orders for a specific number of counts or turns. And then we have Juna Crawford, who is the only party member that can make use of style change, where she can switch between striker mode and gunner mode when attacking. For those of you who are new to this style of game, then I would recommend possibly starting with one of the earlier Legend of Heroes titles, as this game just throws you straight into the story from where it left off in the previous game. You do have options to help you along though, but if you're a stickler for sticking to the story just like me, then you might want to go back and play the others. Other than that, this game looks fantastic, it plays really well, and you can put so many hours into it, so it's certainly a good game to get as part of your Stadia Pro subscription. So in my opinion, I've saved the best Stadia Pro game for last, and that game is Blue Fire. I think this is my favourite so far because I did not expect this to compel me like it did. After all, it's only a 3D platformer, there's nothing remotely special about it, but everything just seems to fit in nicely together and it makes for a really nice playing game. The gameplay mechanics are very simple as we hack and slash our way through enemies to gather ore, which can be traded in for emotes. Not quite sure exactly how the emotes are going to help us as we progress just yet, but I will soon find out because I'll be back into this game very soon. As we search through this castle-like labyrinth, we are met with certain void entrances along the way, where if we enter, we are then met with our platforming puzzle. As you imagine, these get more difficult as the game progresses with more hazards and traps along the way. Finding fire shrines allows you to save the game and will act as a checkpoint if you happen to die along the way. We can also increase our mana by trading in these shadow fragments that drop when defeating enemies at these fire shrines. One thing that may catch you off guard like it did myself is choosing when to hold or press your A and right trigger buttons when it comes to jumping and dashing. It's not as simple as just hitting A, hitting right trigger to jump and dash. The distance between the platforms has to be looked at carefully from time to time so that you don't overshoot or undershoot your mark. We are going to encounter a variety of enemies, traps and puzzles along the way, and they're going to get more difficult as the game goes on, as you would expect. All round, this is just a really lovely game to play. It's just the right amount of challenging, where it can become a little frustrating, but you just want to jump back in and go and try again. I for one will certainly be looking to complete this game, as I probably wouldn't have picked it up if it wasn't on Stadia Pro, but that's the beauty of a subscription service. We get to try things that we might not have before, and this is the diamond in the rough for me. And with all that being said, folks, I'd love to hear what you think about the games. As always, we're all going to have different opinions of each game, and that is completely fine. We all have our different styles and our different ways that we like to play. So drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to drop us a wee like on the video, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any more great content. Make sure and keep up to date with all of our social channels for the latest cloud gaming news, tech reviews, comparisons and gameplay. And until next time then folks, stay safe and keep on gaming.